Northwest with John Breslin.
Indeed, here to keep you company until 2:30 on Highland Radio. Now, the convoy we know here in Donegal is in the east of the county, population of, about 1,500. But did you know there's another convoy, one in Ohio, in Van Wert County in Ohio, and it has a population of just over 1,000. So, broadly speaking, similar in size to the convoy here. But little was known about the convoy there until a few years ago, and it was actually named, the town in the States was named by a settler from Donegal, from Convoy, called Robert Nesbitt. Well, there was a local man, Ray Bonar, who was over in the States, found out about the other convoy and decided to, do something about recognising it here, and also letting us know a bit more about Robert Nesbitt. So he did a bit of looking into it, and delighted now that Ray joins us on the line. Ray, you were over visiting your son in Chicago, is that right? And found out then that there was a convoy. How far away from Chicago is it?
Thanks. Convoy is about 4 miles south, or 4 hours drive south of Chicago,
right?
And it'd be in the western part of Ohio, and a very small town. And I was curious as to where it actually was. So since it was only a couple of hours drive, we went down to visit it around 2008.
And what was your first impressions?
It was small, small, flat, Midwest farming territory.
Right.
Not a tree in sight, and just a small community. Not a whole lot different than our own, to be honest with you. But
and did you make yourself
there,
Did you make yourself known? Did you say, "Listen, I'm from another convoy"? And what did they make of that? If you did,
well, more or less. We arrived in Convoy on a day when there was nobody there. They were all at the county show about 10 miles away. We went into a local pub restaurant for something to eat. And we got speaking to the guy who owned the place. And he says, "Oh, there's a guy up there who knows all about this crowd." So he came down to me anyway. And he told me that they had actually published a book, a little book locally on Robert Nesbitt. And they told me all about Robert Nesbitt. That I wasn't aware of him at all. But we went looking for his grave, and we couldn't find it that year. But on the next year, we went down and I developed friendship with a fellow called Joe Stephan, and we found the grave, and we found a headstone basically in about 6 pieces lying in the graveyard.
Oh.
Now, most people in Convoy, Ohio, didn't know much about the people who named the town either. So as a result of that sort of visit, Joe and a group got together and re-established the headstone, reconstructed it, developed a tablet saying who Nesbitt was. And on the 4th of July in 2010, I was invited out to an unveiling of this headstone. So at least Robert Nesbitt was being recognised in his own town in Ohio. And they followed that up with a historic roadway marker on the Lincoln Highway saying who he was and what his role was. Okay. And rolling on then I've been over and back there on a regular basis every couple of years. But this year is unique in that Convoy was sort of established as a result of Nesbitt, who was working for the Pittsburgh to Chicago Railroad. They were going through the area what is now Convoy, and it was basically a large, it's called the Black Swamp, a big 40 square mile swamp that nobody went into, and it was waterlogged and full of that. But they built the railroad through it anyway, and as a result, Nesbitt decided to settle there with a fellow called Pettit from Cork, and they developed, because they had the railroad go through, they had a lumber business and they had farming, and they developed a small settlement there, which they eventually called Convoy. Now, that was up around about the middle 1840s, but roll on to about 1874, they decided to formally establish a town It's called an incorporated town in Ohio. And that's a sort of standalone town with its own police force, etc. And they established the town anyway in 1874, and Nesbitt got the opportunity to call it Convoy, and Pettit became the first mayor. Pettit was from Cork, as I said. They had a 100th anniversary celebration in 1974, which they invited the mayor of Convoy, Donegal, to, and we didn't have one at the time. But anyway, in the meantime, I've come along and became sort of the contact with them over the years. And they are celebrating their 150th anniversary this year. And we decided, I decided that we should do something about this and build a connection and create a greater awareness of the existence of the two convoys to each other, and to actually recognise the role that Robert Nesbitt played in this township. So they in July actually, the Convoy town in Ohio are going to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the establishment of the town, and we've been invited to actually participate in those celebrations. Now, we ourselves in Convoy, in conjunction with Liam Maley, who heads up the Convoy Community Environmental Committee, and that committee has fully behind us recognising Nesbitt and his role. And so what we're doing is, on the 5th of June coming, we will erect 2 plaques in Convoy commemorating Robert Nesbitt, and we'll have 1 plaque down at the bridge, which was beside the entrance to his old family house in Tullydonnell. And the second plaque will be on the main street opposite Bonar supermarket. And so we'll have the first unveiling will be at 7 o'clock on the 5th of June, and then we'll move up to the main street for an 8 o'clock where we will unveil the plaque that's on the main street. A small group of us have decided that we would